did as I was told.
You were just 9 years old.
Mhm.
So that time during Holocaust
Terrible time. What?
was
Terrible.
it was awful,
Mm-hmm.
horrible. I want to say that. How to say? Just your survival. You're a great survivor. You were strong. You were brave.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today to our
Thank you.
hotel.
Thank you. And I want to tell you how proud I am of the Polish people. How proud I am of the Polish people right now. I know that Ukraine and Poland have some differences right now. They'll straighten it out. But what I'm proud of is that Poland immediately said that they stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine right now, that the Ukrainians want their freedom and should have it.
One more question.
Uh-huh. Do I speak Russian? Only a few words. Just a few. Не понимаю ничего. Я не понимаю ничего. Спасибо. Спасибо.
If you want, I'll be able to.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Yes. Did I go to Poland, to where I used to live? Yes. I lived in the area of Olin. It's now Ukraine. The Ukrainians of that time, they destroyed my whole village. It's leveled. You can't find a tree or a stick or a brick or a stone remaining from 1943 when we were there. There's nothing there. They even removed it off the map. I feel like, where do I belong? Where am I from? If I told you, you wouldn't find it on a map. It's a very, very sad part of history for me. Yes, question? Did I worry when we were in America? Did I worry more about my mother? I didn't think, I wasn't glad that I was free. As a matter of fact, when I went to Catholic grammar school, I had to walk quite a distance. And I remember walking in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, going to St. Stanislaus Kostka school. I thought of my mother all the time, all the time. I never thought of freedom. That was not what, I was already 12 and a half years old when I came to America. I didn't have a bow in my hair. I never had a doll to play with. I never jumped rope like the other girls and boys
Please
did.
excuse this interruption. Mr. Schreiner, would you please contact the principal's office? Mr. Schreiner.
Somebody's in
principal's office
trouble.
immediately. Thank you.
I remember that I still wanted a bow in my hair, and I used to go to the cemetery to look for fresh ribbons on the graves. And I used to steal those ribbons, take them home, wash and iron them, and then I would roll them around my finger, put them in a drawer as if I'm going to make bows. I never did. It was too late. I was too old to have a bow in my hair. I was in Poland to promote the Polish book. The teachers, one teacher in Poland specifically, after I came to America, he sent me an email and he said, Bożena, I'm sending you a package, but don't open it until you call me and talk about it. When I opened the package, there was a doll and a bow for my hair. And he said he felt sorry for me that I never had a doll and I never had a bow in my hair. So that's something. Yes? Where did I work? I became a fashion designer. My work was in the fashion industry. Come on, boys. Yes. Oh, I came to New York with the best American word I learned on the boat coming to America. Okay. That's the only word I knew when I came to America. Okay. The American soldiers on the boat, when we were coming to America, they taught me. Okay. I thought that was easy to remember, so that's the only word I know. Yes?
When you came to America, did you have to go through like a whole process? Like, did you come into Ellis Island?
We didn't come to Ellis Island. Ellis Island in 1947 was already closed. So we wound up at a pier in New York City. And I remember the process of being admitted to the United States. They had these gorgeous American women, girls, young women. I was already 12 and a half. And these gorgeous American women, they wore white blouses and slinky black skirts, were long at that time, almost to the ankle. And I remember thinking, that's the kind of American girl I want to be. High heels like that, slinky black skirt. That was my dream at that time. Yes? The doll from Poland was a small, maybe this big. She had light brown hair, dressed, and the bow was pink satin bow. I held on to it for a few years, and then my church, Our Lady of Poland, where I live, we have a custom where on the Christmas tree they put names, a little star, and on it it would say, 2-year-old girl wishes for a doll. So I gave her the doll. I don't know who she was, because that's always anonymous. I gave her the doll and the ribbon. So I don't have it anymore. But even now when I go shopping, and I'm in the section of dolls, I can't help it. I can't help it. I touch the dolls as I go in the store. I just look at it, put it back. I look at it and I put it back. It's something that I didn't have. There's a rite of passage for all of us human beings. And that moment when I should have had dolls and ribbons passed me by. I never had that. So there's something in me that draws me to it. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. But this is what happens to me. Yes?
Any of your siblings still alive?
Any of my siblings alive? Only one sister, Irena, is still alive. My sister Christina, became a nun. She died of cancer. And my brother died of a heart attack about 7-8 years ago. And I have one sister remaining. She lives in Whitestone, Queens. Yes?
Do you remember how you felt the first time you saw Statue of Liberty?
We didn't come that way. I didn't see the Statue of Liberty. I didn't see it that no one pointed it out to me. I had no knowledge what it meant, the Statue of Liberty. I had no clue. I had no clue. Over there?
What happened to UPA?
What happened to what?
The UPA you're talking about?
UPA, the organization? UPA thought that because they're going to collaborate with the Nazis, that Germany would help. Well, Germany was considered the most powerful nation at that time. They thought that Hitler would help them win their freedom. There was, on the German part, there was no such promise. They got nothing. UPA got nothing. Yes?
I'm guessing that when you came to America, there was quite a bit of a culture shock. Like, there's actually, sorry for the tangent, but there is this movie about this girl going to France from the Iranian Revolution, And because, you know, a lot of the goods that she saw in supermarkets were so scarce, one of her favorite activities when she first went to France was shopping,
Shopping?
like food
Isn't
shopping.
that something? What I remember when I came to America, I was fascinated with roller skating. The kids who had put these wheels on their shoes and they would roller skate down the block. I thought that was fantastic. I came from nowhere. Everything was fantastic to me. I came from nowhere. I never thought, like one student asked, did I think about, I am free, I am in America, I'm free. No, I didn't think that. My thoughts were, where's my mother? Where is my mother? When is she going to come? I never entertained any other thoughts. Even in this book, there's a picture here of us children and a nun, a Sister Boniface. And you could see in the picture, I'm holding on to the nun as if she was my mother. So when I look at these pictures, I'm beginning to figure out who Bożena was at that time. Yes? Say it louder. Do I agree with my father's decision to come to America? Absolutely. We had nowhere to go. Nowhere. Going to Poland was out of the question. It's communist. And we didn't know if our mother was alive yet. And staying in Germany, we were afraid of the Germans at that time. I remember grown-ups, specifically my father, talking to other grown-ups. Can you imagine Germany doing what they did, what they were doing to people? The most sophisticated nation on earth, Germany. The best music, art, literature came from Germany at that time. Yet, they were capable of such bestiality. How could people so educated stoop so low? That's why I think it's more important to be a good person than to be a very educated person. Sometimes I'm afraid of people very educated. I want to know, are you a good person? If you're a good person and educated, oh, that's very good for me. I like you already. But if you're just bragging that you're well educated, I don't know how I feel about that. I was in Florida not long ago and we had a question and answer period like this. There were two ladies sitting together and they wanted to know, why did God allow the Holocaust to happen? And I said, God didn't allow it, we did it ourselves. But God could have stopped it. I said, no. God gave us free will. You have to choose. That's what a good father does. He gives you free will. He educates you, then gives you free will. So you would know right from wrong, good from evil. That's what a good father does. And sometimes we forget and we do the evil. So we created the Holocaust. God didn't do that. We failed him. We failed him. And those two ladies that heard me talk, they didn't like my answer. They walked out. Yes?
You know what my friend says, that God is not giving challenges that we can pass. Like,
Yes. God doesn't challenge us unless he knows we can do it. That's true.
just, I had one challenge in my life,
See? Yeah.
so
The other question that I am very often asked, you didn't ask, so I'll ask an answer. Did I forgive my tormentors? As a Catholic, as a Christian, yes, I learned to forgive. It wasn't easy. One of the nuns that was my teacher in Brooklyn, I was about 17, I think. She called me to the convent and she said, Bożena, if you don't forgive your tormentors, you're going to grow into a bitter old lady. Now, I'm 17 years old. I certainly don't want to grow into a bitter old lady. And she told me that I have to forgive. No one's going to ask me to forget. I can't forget. But I have to learn to forgive. And in time, I did forgive. I did. I know there were Germans that did not vote for Hitler. I can't blame everybody. That wouldn't make sense. And I have a lot of common sense in me. Yes? Say that again? I went to Poland. Where would I go? You mean after the war? Now? Oh, right after the war, returned to communist Poland? I don't know. My father might want to go back to Walling, to our farm, because he didn't know yet that everything was destroyed. So he might have tried. I don't know that. I don't know. Yes? Do I know what my mother was doing then? She was staying, my mother in Poland, she stayed with different relatives. I'm just reading some letters from relatives. She stayed here, she stayed there. She borrowed money for her defense when she was arrested. She borrowed money for her visa. She paid everything back, but she moved around a great deal. Her last job was in Starków in Poland. She worked at a dairy farm. That's all I can tell you. I don't know of any other jobs that she had. Yes? Say it again? The German money, I have no clue what happened to it. My father probably dealt with that. I don't know anything. It wasn't important. Yes? At the camp, did I feel no hope? I'm stuck there. I don't remember having thoughts like that. I didn't understand why war. Why people were fighting each other, killing. I didn't understand why. That was always in my mind. Why? Why? I think you had a question. My mother in 1957, she was 47 years old, and she looked like she was 67. That's what war did to her. Yes? I was the mother to my younger siblings. That's the European tradition. To this day, I know that one of my sisters resented that because I was given authority over them from my father. So they didn't like it. Somebody else over there?
Can you describe how life was on the farm?
Say that again?
Can you describe how life was on the farm when you
Oh, what? In Germany or before Germany? Oh, on the farm, we used to go, the children would go and pick up rocks and dead stuff to leave the earth smooth so the Germans could plant the next thing, whatever it would be, potatoes, so carrots or cabbage, whatever. That was our job, is to get the earth ready for next kind of planting. Yes?
How long did it take you to learn English?
How long did it take me to learn English? I don't know, to tell you the truth, but I had friends who spoke English, and I made sure I hung around them more than with my Polish-speaking friends. So I had to pick up some lingos from them. Over there.
Did you ever go back to where your town was, to the labor camps that you stayed at?
Oh, in Germany, you mean? Yes, I did go back a year and a half ago. most of the Germans didn't want to tell me about the labor camp where we were kept, but I was very lucky. A few years ago, I tried to find a place in Germany, and I had a German taxi driver who couldn't find it, but we drove, it must be in this area, he kept saying. So we stopped at a farmhouse. A German lady, elderly woman, came out. She said, yeah, there was a place like that, in that direction. So I took a picture of her, and I took her address. So a year and a half ago, when we were going there, I took the picture and her address, and I met a Polish priest in Germany a year and a half ago, and he says, I think I know that place. Let's go and meet that German lady. So we went to the house to meet her. Her in-laws were there. She took us in the garden. She fed us there, cookies and tea, I think she gave us. And the priest took us to the former slave labor camp, and I stood there and I said to the priest, I said, Father, in back of me should be Chemnitz railroad station. He says, Bożena, turn around. I turn around, there it is, it's dilapidated, but the sign is still there, Chemnitz railroad station. And then I said, not too far should be the factory. He took me for a walk, and there was that old factory where my parents worked during the war. So it's there. You know, Germans don't want to admit, they're embarrassed to admit that their country did that. But you can't blame every German, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. But I appreciate the fact that they feel embarrassed that Germany did this to people. Now, the Holocaust Museum in Washington recognizes 11 million victims of the Holocaust. 6 million were Jews. Who were the other 5? Don't you want to know? Aren't you curious? I want you to be curious and find out. Read about it. And don't think that hate won't touch you. It did, it does, and it will. Unless you wake up and see the signs. I think I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to me. You are the most polite.
Of this school, the fact that we don't need permission to take time out of our studies to ask important questions. And the gift that you've had, that our school has had, and we've been able to capture it on tape, so we'll have it for many, 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 many years to come, is the story of one person, and yet isn't it everybody's story? Someone who's put in a position of difficulty, of hell, frankly. Is able to find grace, a life of grace, if I may, despite it. Once again, in the name of everybody in Severian High School, we thank the two of you for taking your time to be with us this day.
Excuse the interruption. Just a reminder.
For those of you who are directly interested in the book, we have them available here. You may not have money with you now, and that's understandable, but we'll make it available when we get back from the Easter vacation. We'll have it where guys can order it. We'll put it on our website that your parents may be able to order it, and we'll find ways in which we can get that out to people just as soon as possible. If you want an autographed copy, though, you got to do that today, or in the future, wherever you may be. Oh, okay, very good. To the teachers that are here, and to the Social Studies and Religion Department, I am so honored. You guys know me very, very well. And you know that the humor of what I'm about to say is obvious, but I literally stand on your shoulders. Anything that you will say good about me, it's because I have an outstanding faculty and staff and great students. So to be committed. Class starts in about 15 minutes. I'm going to suggest that we go back. I think there's at least some of there guys maybe who has lunch right now? Some of you guys, maybe, you know what, those guys who have lunch now, you go now, right now, downstairs.